children of all ages, it's the Undercard. The Undercard brings you the best in hand combat sports, featuring major interviews, current events, and the hottest ring girls from around the nation. The Undercard is sponsored by Falling Down Beer Company, Podcast and Church Studios, and is produced by Rochelle Wizard. And now, here are your hosts, Brad, Cody, and Jimmy.
Welcome. Episode 262.
No.
No.
282.
282, sorry. 282. We are broadcasting from Midtown Detroit. That's right, we are back. We have made it full circle to Detroit. We came from the Russell Industrial, thanks to Bob and Dave, went out to Royal Oak and nice pastures, and then came back to even someplace even nicer, the Detroit Shipping Company, and broadcasting live from Midtown. Exactly, that's pretty exciting. Lots of stuff going on outside, so we want to thank Bob and Dave for everything they've done so far. Jimmy has some important announcements before we get going.
Absolutely. Besides being in a new studio, we also have a new sponsor, Audible. Audible is the audiobook giant. Being a fan of this show and our network, we are offering you a limited time offer. You can start a 30-day trial right now and get your first audiobook for free by going to audible.com/Detroit, or you can text Detroit to 500-500. Audible has an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more. You can download Audible apps for your iPhone, iPad, Android, and Windows phones for listening on the go. Audible has countless books on boxing, and MMA. One such book is called The Boxing Kings. The Boxing Kings tells the story of the heavyweight title in the days when it was a defining institution in the United States. Author Paul Bettson places special emphasis on those champions who held a central place in American culture beyond just in the boxing ring, including John L. Sullivan, who made the title a commercial property, Jack Johnson, who in 1908 became the first black man to claim the title, Joe Louis, whose contributions to racial tolerance and social progress transcended even his greatness in the ring, Rocky Marciano, who became an embodiment of the American dream, Muhammad Ali, who took on the U.S. government and revolutionized professional sports with his showmanship, and Mike Tyson, a hard-punching student of boxing history who exemplified the modern celebrity. If you want to listen to this or any of the countless books you can find on Audible, remember, you can start a 30-day trial and get your first audiobook for free by going to audible.com/Detroit, or just text Detroit to 500-500. Don't miss out on this great opportunity and sign up today.
Awesome. You hit puberty mid.
I had rehearsal last night for Hamlet, and we were rehearsing this one scene. In the scene, I scream a lot. So my voice has been a little raspy all day, and I thought I had it until I started speaking, and then it hit me right at the same time. By the way, I forgot to change the camera angle, so during that entire thing, we got a nice big fat close-up of you, Brad.
Oh, crap, man.
Sorry.
There's so many cameras in here, you cannot...
Yeah.
We almost got to redesign what we do on the show. There's a lot of people watching.
Well, no, the only cameras that are actually running are the cameras we always run.
All right, cool.
The ones that are actually built in the studio, there's no way we can incorporate them into our show.
All right.
So it's the same amount of cameras. It's just we're angled at different... It's a smaller space, so I have to figure out, like, angling the cameras and stuff.
You sounded like Peter from Brady Bunch. Remember the episode
Exactly,
where
when
it's
he hits
time for his
puberty.
voice to change?
Yeah, and he has a crush on his sister, Marcia,
Yeah,
right?
kind of weird.
Wait, what? From
Brady Bunch.
from the Brady Bunch. Oh, yeah.
You did. I was like, wait.
Well, so sometimes things align, and, you know, we kind of knew that Claire was coming in, and she was bringing some guests, and then sometimes...
Some of us knew.
Well.
Surprise. Surprise, I'm here.
And then something happens in the world of sports, and it aligns perfectly with what's going on in the world. So a couple of events have happened that we are going to touch base on. First off, if you're unfamiliar with the Undercard show, I want to welcome you. We're a pro boxing MMA show. Not only do we do that, we dive into some pop culture occasionally. We are broadcast live on the Podcast Detroit studio website, network,
yep.
apps, iTunes, we're everywhere. So anyways, we are going to have a couple subjects going forward, and we're going to wait for Cody to jump in probably for the one. But steroids was brought up again. A couple reasons. One, Barry Bonds' number was retired by the San Francisco Giants. Willie Mays says he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs. And we just had the Baseball Hall of Fame recently, in which the people that have used performance-enhancing drugs have not been able to get in. I'll give a take on that later and all that good stuff. But Mia St. John went on record to say that she was on performance-enhancing drugs for 20 of her female fights. Mia St. John, who at the time was one of the biggest women boxing stars of all time, said she used it. She said everyone was using it. Now, she just appeared on Michael Woods' show, which Michael Woods is a friend of our show, and he has the best boxing podcast in the world. You know, like I relinquish that crown. He is amazing. She was just on there, and she wanted to clarify what she meant by every boxer was on it. I have not had a chance to listen to that. I can only go off the article I read about her saying she was going to take performance-enhancing drugs. So if you're at all interested in the performance-enhancing drug industry and the fight game, we'll be talking about that. Not only are we going to cover that, I was surprised, Jimmy, someone sent me a video clip of a guy who claimed to fix boxing fights all the way up to like the McNeely-Tyson fight.
Really?
I've been hunting him down, working on getting him on in here. Due to statute of limitations, he cannot be prosecuted anymore. He has done video interviews. There's not much we could offer to him, except that he says that boxing is still corrupt. They're still judging that is questionable.
Well, I mean,
I would say not the local shows. I will
No.
stop right there because there is no gambling on local shows. But anywhere that there is money, I don't know, the Matisse fight, where Matisse's never taken a knee, and all of a sudden Manny Pacquiao, who hasn't had power in 10 years, is able to get Matisse to take a knee.
Right.
There was a lot. You know how much little money was riding on Pacquiao to knock him out?
Yeah.
Where was all the money? On decision? Or Matisse knocking him out, or Matisse by decision. So that's when you start to think, we are in still a weird sport, you know? Just a lot of things can go wrong, and we got to always remember that as we talk boxing.
Well, I mean, not only that, but what is it? I don't know in the boxing world, but I know in the football world, like any given Sunday, anything can happen. Same thing in the boxing world. I mean, yeah, Pacquiao should not have done what he did, but it doesn't mean that it's out of the realm of possibility that he actually did what he did. You know what I'm saying? It's just weird things happen. Somebody's sick, somebody's not feeling well, somebody's just not right in the headspace. They didn't, you know, they thought they prepared for one way, the fighter changes up, they're not prepared for that. There's just weird things that can happen. So that guy that reached out to you said he fixes
No, we're reaching out to him.
No, we're reaching out to him. It says he fixes boxing matches.
He hasn't done it in a long time.
I know, but I mean, what proof does he have? Does he have any proof?
He has a ton of proof.
He has a ton of proof.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen the guy on YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, a ton of stuff. It's actually very interesting.
Right, yeah. He down to the McNeely fight,
Yeah.
of how McNeely
all
got
right.
there with Tyson and how his manager jumped in. I have a feeling for sure we'll have him on the show.
I would say we
It's
need to
just
get
a
him on the
little
show, even if we need to like just buy him beer from outside. I mean, I don't
Well,
know.
I like to think that I ask tough questions, and I think maybe that might be a hindrance because maybe there's some stuff that I know behind the scenes that I would ask him that hasn't come out.
Or is he afraid that you're going to ask him questions that he can't answer, and it's going to make him look like he's been lying?
No.
Okay.
I look at this guy, and I can't know with 100%, but I look at this guy and say maybe 80% I believe him, 90%. No one gets the full 100.
Right.
And so 80, 90 in this game, that's
just-
pretty solid. And Claire's seen him, and we'll talk to Claire about it a little bit. But
I just don't believe anybody, so it's just
There you go.
flat across the board.
Then-
flat
then,
across
you
the
know.
board, I just don't believe you.
But you do bring up a good point, and this point can be said. You know, maybe Matisse, every boxer thinks they have one more fight. Maybe Matisse, and it goes quick. Look at Sergey Kovalev.
Right.
Sergey Kovalev was my top pound for pound with Andre Ward, and just got knocked out by Alvarez. And not only knocked out, devastatingly knocked
Yes.
out.
Mhm.
Maybe that is the end for him, and maybe it goes quick. He's only 35.
Right.
So I enter the Matisse thing with skepticism, but here's a guy that had a lot of heart, was able to trade with Provetnikov, and was on a knee. And I'm not doubting that Manny hit him with a body shot, but that one I'm more skeptical. Kovalov, I could see his body was failing him, but he was trying to get up.
Yeah.
But then you bring into this, Jimmy, how many refs have so much control, right?
Yes.
We have a boxer in here, right? And we're going to introduce her in a second. But imagine I'm the ref, right?
Right.
And I know where the money's laying.
Yeah.
She has a little cut.
Mm-hmm.
How many times do we see refs that allow a fighter to continue with cuts?
Mm-hmm.
But then how many times do we see a ref that stops it, maybe a little prematurely, or is anti-cuts? Look at how much control a ref would have, or how easy it would be for a judge
Oh, yeah.
to possibly influence millions and millions of dollars.
I mean, the judge maybe a little bit less, but I mean a ref. I mean, all it takes is just the ref to say, I didn't think they could continue.
Right.
That's all they have to do is say, I didn't think they could continue, I called the fight.
Right.
And I mean, yeah, people might question them, but unless it's been a proven fact that they're cheating or they're, whatever, they're going to let them do it.
And I've been ringside, and not in this state, so I don't want conspiracy theories, but I've been in other states.
Dun, dun, dun.
Ringside, where they're in the corner, they get knocked down.
Yeah.
It's a flash knockdown. They appear to have their gait and everything.
Yep.
They hand them the gloves to wipe the gloves
Yep.
off. They say, do you know where you are? Yes.
Yep.
Do you want to continue to
Yep.
fight? Yes. And then all of a sudden,
no. Yeah.
and it's like, why?
Yeah.
Like, I just heard the two answers, and I
Well,
saw something in his eyes or something.
Do you know what you see in the eyes?
No, I do.
I'm asking
pupil,
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
you see a blown pupil, or you also see what's called a tick,
Right.
which is the eyes just start doing this little like tick-tock kind of thing, and that is a clear indication of a concussion.
Right, but I'm saying
No, I
there's
know.
also examples of maybe where the
saw in
fighter,
his eyes.
right? Where the fighter is confused by
Yeah.
it.
No, I get that, but sometimes the ref really does see it in the eyes.
No,
you know
I
what
know.
I'm saying? Yeah.
I'm
But
just,
I know what you're saying. I
there's
know what
a
you're
lot
saying.
of factors.
There's a lot of factors, and yes, the refs are by and large the biggest factor on who wins or loses a fight. Unless it's a clear-cut knockout or a clear-cut, whatever. I mean, a ref can stop it at any moment. At any moment, the ref can stop
Next
it.
would be judges, because you're
next would
betting
be
on
judges.
unanimous
Yes.
decision.
Yep.
In Vegas, it's
Yep.
like Pacquiao for unanimous
Yep.
decision. All you got to have is a bad Jimmy Pache night, in which you give them a majority decision, and you see something totally.
Why do you use my name?
Because I was just.
Why are you
calling
using
out.
my name?
Said you trust nobody, so you're going to take the money under the table. So
I don't even trust myself. I mean, you don't get it.
So, then you have judges,
Yeah.
and then you have their cornermen, which
Oh, yeah.
what he talks about with the McNeely-Tyson fight, if we do have him on,
Yeah.
is that maybe McNeely didn't know as much as his cornerman did. His cornerman jumped in perfectly. So he had to be out by 90 seconds. He jumped in at 89 seconds to stop the fight against Mike Tyson. So who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But I am honored, once again, to have Claire Burke in studios. She gets to smell the new studio smell.
It's
and
great.
I know, it smells like a new car, kind of. She says plastic.
I just love it. I think it's edgy. I think it's fun. You got people coming up to the window and waving and
I know.
everything else,
That's
right?
distracting, so I have to look the other way. Look onto, what street is that? I don't know. I have to look onto the other
Peterborough.
street, Peterborough. But you brought some people. Introduce the people you
I
brought
did.
with you.
I brought Jess Brown, and she's an amateur boxer, up and coming. She's amazing, and I'm going to let her trainer tell you all about stuff going on with Jess, some cool stuff. And I got Akio Miller, and so he's trained, and he trains out of Jabs, and he works with the U of M boxing team, correct? And stuff like that. So
You can speak into the mic.
Yes.
Okay.
I know she's
he's like, I was like, and,
Or are you waiting for her permission? Was that it?
No, I didn't know.
No,
I was
that's
going to
not
go
the
ahead,
thing.
you know.
Oh, I got
So, but he's been working with her. He met her at U of M. So she's like one of those athletic people that's like great at everything. So you're like number one in the world for equestrian or something.
What?
Horseback riding. Yeah, I
No.
mean like everything she does is like amazing. And then you were on the wrestling team, right?
Club wrestling for a bit.
And how'd you do with that?
I never competed, but I did jiu-jitsu for about 3 years and competed there, got a national title, Of course,
Yeah,
it's
no biggie.
Yeah, you know.
She's just one of those
she
people
just-
that just.
Hey, you know, yeah.
And then she started boxing at U of M.
Yep, I started
Wow.
boxing in October and met my coach Keo through there and fell in love with the sport.
So how old were you when you started equestrian?
Ooh, gosh, probably 12 or 13.
And then how old were you when you started wrestling?
Well, more jiu-jitsu, but
Or jiu-jitsu?
18.
And then how old were you when you started boxing?
I was 21.
Jeez,
Yeah.
oh Pete. I mean, it's just one to the
What's
next to the
next?
next. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
year.
What's next? Maybe she'll be the new the next Ronda.
It could
Just
be.
going to MMA, be the next
No.
Ronda. She started off with jujitsu. I mean,
Her
you know.
coach is like, whoa. we got a boxing
I'm just
plan.
saying, after she's got, you know, all
After I
5
get the belts,
belts,
after
and
the belts.
yeah, you know, I mean, what,
She can
2,
wrestle
3
in
years?
WWE.
Yeah.
Like Ronda.
2, 3 years? Yeah, exactly.
But how long was it after you started boxing that you went to Golden Gloves?
Golden Gloves was April. I started boxing in October.
All right, so just
Jeez.
Yeah, my first
Nice.
fight was 2 weeks
Yeah.
after I started boxing.
and how'd you do?
I won.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you won Golden
Yep.
Gloves. Their fight, and how'd you do in Golden Gloves?
I won Golden Gloves.
Yeah.
Won Golden
Wow.
Gloves.
Pretty
cool, right?
Matches.
That's
Yeah.
I think I would have to train for like 10
She's
years
boring.
before I could even step into the ring.
I don't know if we can
I
hang out
mean,
with her.
yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean,
no, I just
geez.
love to fight. Even in high school, I played basketball all through high
I
school.
thought she was
And
like beating people up.
Were you
Like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
were you like
No,
national
no.
champs in high school? I mean,
no, but my 5th grade basketball team were national champs.
Okay.
Great.
No, but I think
Wow.
I set the unofficial school record for the most technical fouls in basketball.
oh
You
wow.
played rough.
believe
You
that.
were like
Yeah.
Bill
She's a
Laimbeer.
fighter.
Yeah, I was gonna say she was like Bill Laimbeer.
Wait, she's too young to know who Bill Laimbeer is. We gotta give her
Yeah,
like
I
an
don't
Bad
know.
Boys.
Oh, man.
Bad Boys, Detroit
dirty
Pistons.
player.
I
Like
don't know.
Karl
Oh,
Malone.
man.
Nope.
No.
They all were dirty back then, though.
Who's a dirty player now? I don't even know.
Uh,
Not watch pro.
Anybody who flops.
I don't even think he plays anywhere. I don't know.
Who's
I
the
don't
guy with all
know.
the tattoos that they always say he's like really innovative? And I'm like, no. Remember the guy who dressed like a woman?
Dennis
Dennis
Rodman.
Rodman.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, no,
No.
you're not even close to Dennis Rodman.
No.
Unless you show up for a game in a wedding dress.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't
Yeah.
you're like old
No.
news. I can't
Well, and then
think
you
of
got to
guys'
be the
names.
ambassador to North Korea. You know.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
exactly.
That's right. The only one allowed there. Oh, jeez, I forgot about that.
Well, you come across, so this question's for Jess. You come across very passive and very nice, which is good. So you and your coach, when it's time to throw down, what changes, what clicks? Because you can't be this nice in the ring.
No, I like in training. I like to have fun in there. You know, keep it light. He laughs at me all the time. He'll tell you.
At you, yes.
Yeah. But come fight time or hard sparring day, just I don't know. Go to a different place mentally. Just kind of switch off. Focus on each round. And he gives good pep talks. That helps.
Nice. So what do you see in Jess as a coach that you see a heart of a champion? Because I do believe that a coach to take on somebody has to see something there. Not necessarily a champion, but somebody that has a strong heart. What do you see in Jess that makes you want to give your time? Because let's be honest, coaches give more than they'll ever receive.
Yeah. Jess is very passionate about whatever she does. Like, even in training, she's so passionate to the point so she don't know how to turn it off. Like, she'll just keep going and going and going, which is good, but at the same time, it's like, okay, let me scale her back. So it's just, she's very passionate about everything. Like, that's the one thing I notice about her. And she's not afraid of hard work. I've met so many fighters in my short period of time doing this who wants to act like they're working hard but don't want to put the effort in. And that's something you can't buy from somebody. It's almost like you can't buy heart. You can't get nobody heart. You can get it or you don't. So
So how long have you been doing this?
I've been coaching for about 5 years now.
Okay.
I've been coaching for 5 years. I fought for about 3 years amateur. Kept getting hurt, couldn't continue. So my coach, Greg Carson, took me under his wing and taught me how to be a coach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Coaching more rewarding than fighting.
With
fighting.
Jess it is.
For
With
her
Jess
it is. I still like to get in there sometimes, but you know, other than that, yeah, it's very rewarding because you get to really get to know the fighters as people.
Right.
You know, it's more to it than just, okay, you're the fighter, go out there. You know, when you get to know somebody, it's like you're building a friendship with them.
Now, this is your serious question for the day. I give everyone a serious one, right? Everyone, the old adage away from boxing is a girl can't hit. But I know as a trainer, she's missed a pad once, and it has clocked you. So you're here on record. Can women hit, and how hard does Jess hit?
Yes, women can hit very hard. And Jess hits hard enough that she done messed up herself hitting somebody before. You know, she messed her hand up about a good 2 months hitting somebody. So Jess can hit. I have funny story. I ain't gonna say who it was, but we had a young guy coming to the gym. You know, he's like, I want to get some work in. I'm like, well, I ain't got nobody your size, but you getting there with her. And he was like, and I'm like, well, you ain't gotta try to knock her out, but you can box with her. You know, just make her work. He got in there playing around, and I looked at him like, man, jump on him. Got that boy on the ropes. He wanted to get out that ring. he was like, man, you didn't tell me she could fight like that. If I'm trying, you think I'm going to just have her in there do anything? Like, no. So, yes, women can hit hard. She's done hit me a couple of times. We wanted to hit her back.
I got to tell you, I won't divulge names, but there's a trainer that I know that doesn't wear a chest pad, right? And, you know, he's working with a guy that I know has a lot of power. Like, I'm like, I've seen this guy just drill people. So he's like, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. And then swoop in the pad underneath to do a right hook to the body.
Yeah.
And I go, watch, he's going to miss that pad one time. And he did, and that trainer went down. Like, I was just like, that's why you wear the chest protector.
Yes.
Like, I mean, because, you know, I'm sure Jess has missed one occasionally. And, you know, it happens in training.
On
Total
accident.
accident.
I was gonna say, that's an accident.
Total
She's
accident.
not
Yeah.
so friendly.
Exactly. It's always on those hard days when she misses on accident.
Now, Jess, tell us a little bit about the U of M boxing program, because people think football, maybe basketball, good education, but boxing.
Right. So I'm actually still kind of new to it. I joined as a senior, tryouts in September, and was on the team through both semesters. But the women's team is actually 5-time running national champs for like the team points, and the men's team won last year. But no, it's a great program. It was started as a club probably like 10 or so years ago, and a lot of the coaches that help out were former members of the team. And then we have coaches like Keo and another coach, Eric McGuire, out in A Squared.
Great
He
guy.
helps out, love him. And the head coach also boxed for Michigan, so I mean it's a lot of tradition there. The team is a great atmosphere. You know, everybody's trying to get through academics at Michigan first, and then we get to take all the frustration out on each other in the ring. So
So what year are you in right now?
I actually graduated in April. So
Okay, and then you told me when I first met you that you are going to try for the Olympics first.
Yep.
Is that still the dream?
Oh yeah, that's the goal. That's
All
not
right.
the dream. That's the goal.
All right,
All right,
so
thank you.
when
for clarifying that.
when is the next Olympics? You probably know.
2020.
And
July
that is
24th
in the United
Tokyo.
States, right?
Tokyo.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Tokyo.
Okay, Tokyo.
Yep. LA is 2024.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe both. Or maybe pro. Benjamin's call.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Once I get there, win
It's
a
the
little
dead
gold,
presidents
come
start
back.
calling.
Yeah.
You know, everything changes.
Oh yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, so you're watching Clarissa Shields right now evolve. There are some problems with the marketing. I'll tell
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
And but I do see a future for women's boxing.
Oh, for sure.
It's just that the marketing hasn't found its place yet. It's not that Mark Taffet and it's not that Salida Promotions isn't trying. It's just that, just like when Dana White said no girls would ever fight for UFC, there is this little like grayness out there that some people have a hard time watching girls hit other girls. And how do you express that to
I don't.
a boxing fan? Right. You might not. I've been around it enough.
I don't.
He eggs them on.
Right.
Hit harder!
What would you say to that about, you know, that, I don't know, it's a unwritten, I don't know. No one has the courage to say it, but I will tell you behind closed doors, I have heard people say that I have a tough time watching women fight women. What would you say to that?
That's a tough thing, because I've been in, I mean, before boxing I was in jiu-jitsu and other combat sports, just grappling, but, you know, women are fighters, and I said it in jiu-jitsu, boxing, I'm kind of thinking the same thing. 10 times out of 10, I'd rather fight a guy than a girl. Girls fight hard, they're aggressive, we fight because we have something to prove, you know? You say we can't hit hard. I'm gonna hit pretty hard.
I didn't say that. I said there's out there
Perception.
the
Yeah.
perception. I have no question that you could probably knock me and Jimmy outside out there.
Right.
Oh, just look at me and I'm down. I mean,
exactly.
yeah.
I would just
no.
pretend to be down.
Yeah. Don't hit me, don't hit me. I surrender.
I would.
No, but you see the same thing in like the WNBA. Marketing just isn't there. The women players, they want to get paid on a similar level as the men, but it's difficult when you don't have the same amount of fans, the same audience, the same like ticket sales.
Right.
It's hard. Boxing is a little different because like on the card you could have another like big fight with the guys and get a lot of tickets, get a lot of viewers, but I think there is a very large like potential for women's boxing and marketing that better. But like you said, I don't think anybody's really found that yet.
Right. Now, Claire, you're stepping into women's boxing. You've already been involved with other boxers and stuff, but you're the one that introduced me to Jess. I was immediately impressed with how well-spoken she was, her goals. What do you think's missing in the women's boxing marketing? Because I'll be honest, we've seen it now 2 years here in Detroit. It hasn't caught on attendance-wise the way they want. Good viewership numbers, Showtime says. Is it Shields? Is it the product? What do you think it is?
Here in Detroit.
Or worldwide too.
Okay.
I mean,
well, I think it's not marketed correctly. I think no one really promotes it. I think with women's boxing, because there's such a small number. Now I'm not, and I want to clarify this. I'm not saying there should be a league, but I've started looking at women's boxing just over the last 30 days, and I've started breaking everything down, going through BoxRec, pulling all the fighters, seeing who's still active. It's reaching out, through Facebook, social media, things like that, and kind of putting together like who wants to fight. And I couldn't believe it, but I put one post out there, and I'm not exaggerating. I have over 211 female. I don't even like to say women's boxing, like it's so separated. So what I'm learning to say is I'm teaching myself to say the women's division and the men's division. So I'm no longer going to say women's boxing and men's boxing. It's just, to me, it's boxing and it's just different divisions. So I've kind of like went through and, kind of put it like almost as if I was going to have a league. And said, okay, if this person fought this person, then that person fought this person, then that. And I've got a little bit of, I don't want to say power, maybe leeway to do that, or a way to do that because of the ABF. You know what I mean? I can offer title belts to women. So that's exciting. Like no one's focusing on that. So when you tell some fighters that are, 14-0 that, hey, would you like to fight for a regional title? They're like, about time someone asked us to do something.
right.
And I'm focusing on, this is my plan, to bring women's boxing where I think it deserves to be, is I'm focusing on Texas and New Mexico right now.
Okay.
Because in Texas, it's really close to Mexico, and there's tons of Mexican female fighters, right? I mean, a ton. And those girls can fight. So, I don't know if you know who Roberto Tapia is.
I don't know.
Robert Tapia, he's Johnny Tapia's family.
Okay.
Remember Johnny Tapia? And they've come on board with me, and they've been phenomenal. Like, I mean, they're amazing. I mean, amazing. And they're like, we are completely on board with the plan. We're kind of talking about that. We're talking about some differences in female boxing versus, the female division versus the males division. Taking a look at that, and some people told me I was crazy, like, you can't just change it. I'm like, well, I know I can't just change it, but
Right.
I mean,
Well, why
but we
not?
can suggest it. But I don't know that anyone's ever tried.
Billie Jean King did it in tennis. There was they were having a hard time getting paid the same as the men. So her and some other female tennis players started their own league, their own division, and it took off.
Right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really, you know what I mean? I'm not suggesting another sport or
Right.
a league,
Right.
but that's how I've kind of started breaking down all the fighters. And it's a lot of work.
Right.
I
Yeah.
probably work on it about 20 hours a week.
Right.
It's a lot.
Now, do you want to ultimately make like an all women's division card? Like, is that what you're trying to build up to, or like?
I actually have a women's division card in New Mexico. in November.
Oh,
That's nice.
cool.
Nice.
All right.
With
We
Nice.
fly
Nice.
first class, and we have
Yeah.
high demands at hotels.
Look,
So-
I need virgin mimosas. I need regular mimosas.
His per
and I
diem's
need
out the roof.
and,
now. It's like
and I
300
need
a day.
all the brown M&Ms taken out of the bag. I mean,
Right.
that's my rider.
Pick out all the red Skittles. I hate red Skittles.
$300 in per diem and singles for the strippers
Right,
at the clubs at night.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the losers are the strippers.
Yeah. Well, you know,
Save on the dollars.
I was gonna say, if I had a $300 per diem, I'd be like buying geeky shit, not going to strip clubs. I'd be in New Mexico buying, like the alien landed on my roof and like all the Roswell kind of stuff.
Yeah. See, I'm fascinated with marketing, just sports marketing in general. And I was telling Rochelle about this not too long ago. Phil Knight, who invented Nike, if you read Shoe Dog and stuff like that, he had a very unique marketing approach. And people are like, oh, well, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, and stuff like that. I think some with Shields is that they were pushing her so quick. If she would have went and got the 10 wins, the 15 wins, and then they brought it back and brought the marketing machine, I know there wasn't a lot of people out there for her to fight at 165, but it felt like from outside media, and I still hear this, is that like it was a marketing machine pushing a little bit. Okay? Now, Shields is very talented. There's no one out there like Shields, so I understand why you would market her like that. But I also understand the grassroots of let the press talk for itself, let her work her way up. What do you feel about that, Claire?
Wow. I'm going to get myself in trouble here.
What stays in this room, what's said in the room stays in this room,
I think,
except for
right.
all the internet, all the Twitch streams.
I think with Carissa Shields, it's more than, it's more dynamic or diverse than that, or however. But so if let's say, for example, if she's only signed with a promoter for 5 fights, well, that's a lot of work to do promoting and marketing and, having someone that maybe can groom your fighter. Okay, and I'm not talking about changing them, who they are as a person. And this is I can't believe I say it, but you know me, I'm just gonna say it. I think to maybe a little softer appeal outside the ring. Maybe Clarissa doing some things like, where you see her doing some outreach with some like kids or things like that. And I'm not trying to stereotype a woman, men's versus women, but I think men need to do it too. I don't see any of that being done.
Right.
I don't see her being groomed. I don't see any promotion.
Right.
I don't see her on. It's not difficult in Detroit even to get your fighter on like the 5 at 9.
Right.
Right? That's super easy, right? I don't see any of that stuff being done.
Right.
So I don't know if that's because she was only signed to a 5-fight contract as a promoter.
Right.
How much time do you put into their future earnings promoting and marketing somebody who might only be here for 5 fights?
Right.
But at the same time, they might sign on with you again if for those 5 fights you were pushing them, you were doing the outreach program.
But
You were,
very risky in this business.
I understand that.
Loyalty is like
Extremely.
I understand that.
there
I understand
is
that.
no loyalty.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's issue,
Yeah.
but I don't see the things being done.
Yeah.
I don't see the correct press conferences. I think Clarissa Shields. She's 2-time gold.
Right.
And
Yeah.
That
I'll
should
say,
mean something.
Did you see where we had the weigh-ins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a little
Well-
$10 scale, and it was
I
just
feel like
it
it's
was,
not relatable.
it was just it wasn't even
Right.
it wasn't acceptable in my opinion
Well,
for a
and
Showtime,
I-
a Showbox.
And I'll
weigh-in
say
was
this
horrible.
to Jess too. I honestly, I think, and what I was saying there is a lot of other people's perceptions because they'll come to me because this is Shields' hometown. But I'll break it down to performance. People like knockouts. If I'm a 10-0 fighter with 1 or 2 knockouts, I'm never going to be main event. You got to get the knockouts. People like the knockouts. And Shields struggling with the knockouts, going the distance. She got knocked down, got back up, showed a lot of heart. But Christy Martin, and you know who I'm talking about, Christy Martin, she floored people. And that's why Christy Martin, regardless of appeal, looks, anything, people liked watching Christy Martin. People like knockouts. It's the same with guys.
Oh, yeah.
Tyson, because it was so dynamic, no one talks about Trinidad like Tyson.
Right.
Trinidad was a great boxer. He didn't have so
Gotta be exciting.
right. So I would say that to Jess too. You got to put on a show. They're looking for the
We've
knockout at
talked
the
about
end.
that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yep.
Decisions are a part of the game, but if you have so many of them, Nikki Adler, I think, threw 13 punches. Like, that should have not been a different stoppage than it was.
Right.
You should just get people on the ground. And I think Shields will get there. I think she's got a good trainer. I think things will get there. It's just I'm watching women's boxing evolve in front of us, and Jess is going to be a huge part of it down there. I just think she might not be. How would I say? I wish we could freeze Shields and bring her back in 3 years when women's boxing's a little bit, because I think she's going to peak before I see the sport peaking. There's always been
Absolutely, she will.
right, and there's
That's
always
not
been
even a
people that have pushed it. Layla Ali,
Yeah.
Christy Martin. We talked about Mia St. John, who we'll talk about when we talk about performance-enhancing drugs.
And Wolf.
Right, there's always been
Yeah.
somebody out there, but there hasn't been like a group of them to like carry it all at once.
No, it's not the same time. it
Right.
happened, no.
And Shields right now is the only one carrying it. Maybe Christina Hammer can hang with her. Maybe she can't.
We need some grudge matches.
I think this Hammer
And
thing's
no,
looking
seriously,
ugly.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
we need some
Yeah,
grudge
Hammer.
matches,
Yeah.
but more than just one.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like where it's like, this person wants to fight that person. People are caught. We don't have any of that in the female division. There's none of that going on, and it's not getting in the papers. It's not getting coverage. Nothing. And I think that the 2-minute rounds have something to do with it too.
It's possible.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I don't like
Would
it.
you
It
like
is-
to go 3?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. And
Yeah.
it's impossible to get a feel of the other fighter and to even get a knockdown or any type of stoppage in 2 minutes. That's it's ridiculous. Even amateur
Right.
open fighters, men get to go 3 minutes in amateur and
Right.
at
Yeah,
open.
here.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, look at it this way. My son's baseball team this year, Rochelle will even tell you, was amazing. They were dominant, and they hit the tournament, and they were dominant. Imagine somebody comes in and says, instead of playing in the 8 innings in Little League, we're going to roll it back to 2 innings. Well, they might be
Right.
down in 2 innings, but if
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
7 innings, I know this team's going to win.
Yeah.
Your skill set is nullified because it's a shorter amount of time. If I'm a competitor that's not as good as you, haven't trained as hard, I can maybe fool a judge. I can maybe
Right.
for 2 minutes
Right,
stick around. 3,
exactly.
you're going to start outclassing me.
Yeah, and I'd love to see some solid reasoning on why we are not allowed to go 3 minutes. I've seen lots of reasons, but I've seen nothing solid. And
Coach seems to know why. Why? Yeah.
No, I sent her an article today why
Right.
women boxing can't go past 2 minutes.
Well, Kara Rowe, you had some fights. We talked to Kara Rowe a lot. She's a good friend of ours. She had some 3-round fights. I don't know how that happened before they changed the law or what. But Kara Rowe was
sure.
a badass before her injuries.
Right.
I
We
feel like
loved Kara
3-round fights would make women's boxing more appealing too, because everybody likes knockouts, but everybody's not a knockout artist. I mean, you got guys like Floyd. Floyd ain't knocked nobody else since like the 90s, and everybody knows him.
Right.
You got people. Canelo's he don't knock out everybody. He's not knocking out people like Wilder. I think the 2-minute limits a lot of women fighters, because some people like to watch
Yeah.
boxing for the technique. How much
Right.
technique you gonna see in 2 minutes,
Right.
or a minute and a half?
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
It's so much. So I feel like that limits the training for women fighters, because everybody's training women to fight for 2 minutes only. So why I gotta show you all this nice stuff if all you're gonna do is throw punches for 2 minutes and hope to hit something?
Right.
That's one of the things
Exactly.
people were laughing at me about. I said, well, I'm going to
So-
look into that. And they went, Claire, come on.
It starts with somebody.
Someone has to do
Someone has
something.
to.
Someone
Right.
has to,
Yeah.
Maybe you guys can all after the fight, you guys can take a knee. like we're not
You
coming.
know, I'll do
you can
whatever
sit-
it takes.
Right when they ring the bell to start the fight, you guys both just take a knee for the first round.
Or
And
when
it'll
they
be a 0-0 round.
Right.
And just
Yeah.
take
When
a
the
knee.
ref
for,
tries to break,
just
you go
stand
another
there,
minute.
Stand there for 3
Yeah,
minutes.
just keep fighting.
Right?
We're gonna step in the
Say
middle
we're
of the
fighting
ring.
3 minutes, right?
Hey, I'll keep going. I'll keep going.
I mean, I don't know, but
I-
you never know. Maybe we'll do something like that.
It seems
Hey.
if
Oh
there
my
was
God.
ever a
Listen, he's like,
I wanted to look it up and see why.
Oh yeah,
You
you
probably
find the
found
article.
Why I found some articles and
because
the
of menstrual
reasoning.
cramps or something.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it says.
I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Thank you.
That is literally menstrual cycle has tremendous impact on the body of a woman.
Yeah.
Like that's the reasoning.
Welcome
Are you
to life.
kidding me?
Yeah. That,
I told you it was a good article.
Somebody's just oh my
But
god.
if there's ever a state that maybe has some terrible rules, it's the state of Michigan. I bet you we could fit good rules in with the terrible rules. Because the state of Michigan, I'm always hard on. There's a lot of things that are wrong. The standing 8 count. There's a lot of things that we still do that are absolutely. Oh no, I don't know. Maybe people are just waving at us.
No, it's Cody.
But
Hold on.
you see, the show gets hotter when Cody gets in there. By the way, all of a sudden, like everybody's like, "Hey, what's up, Cody?" Even Rochelle. Cody.
Sorry, do you have an appointment?
Exactly. There we go. But no, I think I was way off thought here. But what was I even talking about? I even got distracted by Cody. I was not talking about. Oh no,
3-minute rounds.
And Cody can verify here. If ever a state that has wacky rules, it's Michigan. And so I think that we could put good rules within these wacky rules, and a 3-minute rule for women's boxing would be amazing. So,
Oh, for sure, yeah. I support that 100%.
Yeah.
right. And joined by Cody.
What's up, guys?
What's going on?
You got to give him a
So-
camera, Jimmy.
It's okay. I don't have a camera.
I would say I hold on. I'm trying to do 50 different things here. Hold on.
He's good looking.
I'm gonna bring up just
Can everyone
the.
just turn to me and
There
say
we go.
cheese?
I'm just gonna bring up that camera.
Good radio.
That camera's the one that's on right now.
All right.
This place is cool.
All right.
Yeah, we were talking about it a little bit. It's a neat neighborhood.
Yeah.
It'll be fun
Yeah. I used to live right down the road.
for like a couple weeks.
Yeah, like that. 3 months. Oh my God.
Was it 3 months?
3 months. Yeah.
Actually,
time
Yeah,
flies.
it
I
does.
live-
Yeah.
I lived down the road for 3 years.
Yeah.
That's why I know I don't like this
I
area.
like this. I actually like it. I like it.
I
I
just
Nah,
like
it
the
wasn't
place.
bad.
Great. I think
It
it's
wasn't
cool.
bad. I'm just joking.
So we were talking women's boxing, and but our next subject I definitely wanted to talk to Cody about. It came out that Mia St. John admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs over 20 fights. And not only did she use it over 20 fights, she said other fighters used it in boxing at the same time. And then Barry Bonds had his number retired. Barry Bonds looked like stick and bones this past weekend, not on steroids, out in the middle of left field getting it. And my theory is that those guys should never, ever get in the Baseball Hall of Fame. That's what makes Ken Griffey Jr. so special, and the people that didn't take it is because they didn't. And so I was surprised that a fighter like Mia St. John would come out and admit it. Maybe it's something that they got to get off their chest. But me and Cody, and I know Jimmy, we're very anti like steroids. We get mad at fighters like John Jones or anybody that
Oh, yeah,
tests. We
absolutely.
believe that you know everything that puts in your body and stuff like that. What is your guys' take on performance-enhancing drugs? Because like technology has come a long way, but clearly performance-enhancing drugs gives you an unfair advantage. I imagine at U of M you're tested, right?
No.
Really?
No.
Wow.
Not college boxing.
I don't think there's no test in the amateur level at all.
Maybe once you get to Olympic level.
Yeah, Olympic level, but like just
um,
local amateur boxing.
Even most of your professional boxing shows, local shows, and MMA shows, they don't test for steroids either.
They're just testing for like weed and stupid stuff, right?
Stupid shit you can test.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's the cheapest test, so that's
Right.
that's what they do. Doesn't make any sense. Like what?
They're like, you're getting tested.
Yeah. You think getting high is gonna like affect your performance in a fight? Probably not.
Yeah, the opposite. You're just gonna be sitting there in the corner eating Cheetos.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of people that get high. I mean, MMA fighters that get high and they use it as like a, I don't know, way to relax.
Yeah. So I will ask you this, Jess. How many people do you think in college boxing national champion team do you think are maybe using?
I like on my team.
No. Just in
Or
general.
in general?
College boxing across.
I
If it's not
mean-
getting tested, that's the problem with the boxing. They weren't, or baseball. They weren't testing them, so it
Right.
ran amok. So I won't accept a 0% answer. And there's just certain things you notice about people on steroids. So Rochelle and me, I can spot it a mile away when someone's on steroids
They're
because it's just so different.
fucking yoked.
Right, exactly.
It's a different, like, kind of ripped. You know?
Right.
It is.
It's just like
It's abnormal.
I can spot it a mile away.
It's
The
like
jaw
muscles
gets thin.
on muscles.
Right.
Yeah.
And like just so shredded. It's so obvious. I mean, in MMA fighting,
Yep.
all the Brazilians were on steroids because they were all just so chiseled. And then USADA came in, which is the anti-drug administration, and like these guys all fell off.
So
They
how?
all shrunk.
What's the percentage you think?
I think, honestly, I don't think it's a big problem. In college boxing, I'd say under 10%, under 5%.
Wow.
I don't think it's that big of a deal because a lot of college boxers never boxed before college. Like,
Okay.
some start freshman year. I started my senior year. I started less than a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like we're at that elite level yet where it actually would make a difference even.
Right.
You know, these kids, some go to nationals and their first round at nationals is their first fight ever.
Right.
So I don't think it's that big of a deal in college boxing, at least.
Now, Cody, as a professional fighter for the UFC, there's stupid people out there that have this argument, and I'm going to have you deflect it because I think you will. Everybody says, why don't you just open pro athletes up to PEDs? Testosterone proves to make a healthier body. Allow every fighter to choose to take it, and if both of them are on it, it is an even platform. What would your response be to that?
Well, some guys have a lot more money than other guys, and the guys that can afford things like that, like the real, I mean, if you have a team of doctors working on your blood levels and doing all these things, obviously you're probably going to perform a lot better than someone that is, just taking some basement steroids, or I don't really
GNC.
know. Yeah, I don't know like what the
big.
grades of steroids are, but I know that there are levels to it, and there are guys that have had doctors in the past that are basically like regulating their blood levels and keeping them at this absolute like peak testosterone to estrogen level, and a lot of things. The only thing that I could see would be beneficial for athletes in general, I think, would be human growth hormone, HGH.
Right.
And that isn't a performance-enhancing drug. That's a recovery tool. I think that guy should have that available, because I think just about anybody could afford it, and it would really help guys kind of recover. Obviously, being a professional athlete, you beat the crap out of your body.
Right.
So I think that would be the only thing, because that doesn't make you faster and stronger.
Right.
Steroids makes you faster and stronger.
Right.
Using something to recover, that's different. Steroids is something that actually increases your athletic performance. And you're not talking about a level playing field anymore. You're not talking about the guy that works the hardest and puts his time in. It's like the guy that can afford the right injections.
I was gonna say, because there'd be guys, going on the streets trying to find something.
Right. I mean, even now, there are things that
there's masking. Yeah.
There's athletes that do things and invest back into their careers. To kind of like optimize their athletic performance. Like me. I mean, I work with doctors to on my heart rate and my diet and all these things. I mean, there are ways to naturally like increase your performance. Obviously it's not the shortcut that steroids are, but I mean, if you really take the time and do the right things with your body, and you're not going out drinking and doing drugs, and you're living a healthy lifestyle, I feel like you can peak your performance level. But I mean, steroids, literally, you're taking, there's no guesswork. You can do whatever the hell you want. You can train as much as you want, and you get a shot and you recover. It's not fair. It's stupid.
I told this story before. I don't even know if you were a co-host yet, Cody, but my grandmother, she would get really, really sick and near deathbed, and they'd be like, oh, you should call hospice probably. And then they would give her a prednisone pack, and she'd be walking
That's
and like
steroid?
Yeah.
She would be walking, moving the drapes. 2 days ago they said that you might have to call hospice, and she was walking to her own chair, getting herself out of bed. But when the prednisone wore off again, went down again, right? Prednisone peak it up again, right? Which is a steroid. Then she'd be walking. It was amazing what certain steroids can do. So Cody, you've worked out at the UFC Performance Center. They're cutting edge. What within the rules is coming up in science that you think is going to be amazing for athletes that like Jessica could use and coach over there? What do you see that's pretty exciting about science? You're talking about resting heart rates, breathing. Is there anything that UFC has showed you guys that looks pretty cool?
They're finding smarter ways to train, like low impact ways to train, and better ways to decrease inflammation. So basically, your body's natural response to getting injured is becoming inflamed. You get that pump in your muscles. Well, that actually slows down your recovery time a little bit. So they're finding ways to, speed up your body's natural ability to recover. And the nutrition aspect is so big. I was fortunate my first 3 UFC fights were in Vegas, so I got to work with all those guys, and I learned so much. Things like cryotherapy, they have red light therapy, like underwater treadmills, no impact treadmills, massage therapy. I mean, there are a lot of ways to keep yourself in the game. Like right now, like during camp, I get a massage every week. I see a physical therapist every week, and I see a chiropractor twice a week. You know, it's actually it's a lot. I mean, it takes a lot of time out of your day to do that stuff. But you know, if I don't make it to my fight, I don't get paid. So I mean, I look at it as like all an investment, you know, back into my career. And you know, I think if you're doing those things and you're treating your body right, I think it pays off more than taking a PED would.
Now, as Jess, she's gonna try or going to make it to the Olympics.
There you go.
In,
Thank you.
there you go in 2020
Do it.
in women's boxing. What can you recommend to an athlete starting off? She's still, you know, in the amateur phase, obviously with the Olympics. And so in the amateur phase, you're fighting more than you would as a pro. Even though it's tough for women to still get fights. What would you recommend to fighters that are coming up, Cody, that you've learned maybe the hard way or through training, because you're a solid, solid record, lots of fights. What would you recommend?
I guess keep up with the times. You know, the old school mentality, like getting ready for a fight meant that you like spar every day and just beat yourself up and like kill yourself in the gym. They're just finding out that's not the way to do it. You know, not only that, like there's one thing on your body that doesn't recover, and that's your brain. You know, so don't take that consistent like damage to your head. If you get punched in the head, do it once a week. You know, give your body some time to recover. And like that's just like that old school boxing mentality, that old like crunk mentality where guys just went in every day and just beat each other up while those guys are all slurring their words and, you know, don't know what planet they're on anymore. So train smart, focus on your technique and your conditioning, and then, you know, as the fight gets closer, I would say spar. But, you know, a lot of MMA fighters are now adapting, and I don't know, I'm sure boxers aren't, but they're adapting like no sparring rules, and guys aren't even sparring for fights. They're literally doing strength conditioning and like hard mitt work and just hard drill sessions and all these things, because, you know, a lot of these guys that have been in, you know, 20, 30 MMA fights, they're starting to realize like, hey, you know, maybe my brain's not working as good as it used to, you know, and that's like a real thing in fighting. Like you can really mess your head up, and like that's the real fear at the end of a fighting career. You know, like joints heal, you know, pretty much any ailment you have in your body. I mean, most time it's gonna heal. Maybe you get some arthritis later in life, but it doesn't have arthritis. You know what I mean? But your brain, you need that. You need that your whole life. So train smart.
Right. I think a lot of people don't realize it's not when you get, you know, you're sparring, like you're talking about getting ready for a fight, right? You get like a minor concussion. You might not even realize it. Maybe 2 days later, the next night, you have a headache, or later that day.
Right.
You just think, oh, I have a headache, I trained hard, I'm probably dehydrated. Well, it's probably a minor concussion. It's not the minor concussion that's the problem that caused the brain injury. It's the concussion you get after the minor concussion, when you already have the minor concussion. It's the second one. So if you're sparring even a week before a fight, right, or 4 days before a fight, like I see people do, and then they get a minor concussion, then in a fight, now they have no headgear on, they get hit in the head again. That's why it causes it. It's a problem. I agree with that. I see guys in the gym, you've probably seen it.
Oh yeah.
With no headgear on, they think the trainer's like, oh, it makes them tough, they're fine. I'm like, that's just ignorant.
Right.
It's completely ignorant.
And we're back, I sat in on a so there we go, concussion study with Henry Ford Hospital with Dr. Lee. You remember that, Rochelle? And it was really early in the morning. It was like 6 in the morning. But I remember him saying that every time you see stars, that's pretty much a concussion. And then you ask a fighter how many times they see stars during training or fighting, and they're telling you like 10 times a week. You're like, wait, you're getting 10 concussions a week.
What if you sneeze and you see stars?
You probably already did the damage.
That's low testosterone.
Oh, is it? All right.
If you
Okay.
pull
I
a
wanna get
muscle
that
in,
checked
You
out.
can take steroids. So we can fix that like today.
that'd be funny. Me and Jimmy just coming in here ripped.
No, we would just
Your
be.
testosterone like levels checked. That's completely different. I would be all for that.
TRT.
honestly.
When I'm done fighting, I'm going to be on the TRT program.
Yeah, I think that.
For
I
sure.
used to
It's
sell
healthy.
testosterone as a
Oh, yeah?
pharmaceutical rep. Yeah,
I-
I even sold penile implants
Wow.
for Johnson
Oh.
Johnson. I did.
Oh, wow.
That's why I knew
That's
about
so
that.
funny.
That's why I knew the
Johnson &
sneezing.
Johnson
That's how I knew the
selling
sneezing
penile
symptoms.
Yeah.
I
Everybody
did.
else
So,
does that.
but I think I don't
I
know.
got it.
You keep samples at home still?
Testosterone?
No.
I
Oh,
used all the
penile
penile implants. Yeah.
Well, I don't need that. I
What's
just need the
a-
testosterone.
No.
I'm just curious.
But
What's
yeah, I
a
did.
penile implant?
it's the balloon, right? You
Yeah,
pump it
it's a
up.
pump.
It was so like if
remember-
medicine didn't work
Yeah.
for you, that
Yeah.
was
Do you remember-
the last resort.
Right.
Well,
It's
you-
like the opposite condition that would cause, like, I can't remember, like for Viagra.
Viagra,
That's
yeah.
for people that still have, like, desire.
Right.
They just have bad blood flow.
Right.
So you got
Where-
deflated when you're done?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
think you did.
So do you remember those old? Do you remember? I was to say, do you remember those old high tops
He's
that
like,
you would
"Wow."
put on
Oh,
and you
the
go?
Reebok pump?
Yeah, it's kind of like that,
Right.
except
Oh, yeah, the
It's on
pumps.
the-
yeah, exactly. And then you
Yeah.
press the little button, and it goes.
Oh.
Yeah.
There you go.
I didn't do that long. I really didn't. I'm like, this is just bizarre. So it was crazy. So yeah,
Well, next time I go to the VA, I have something to discuss with them.
they do. But testosterone levels, I wouldn't have a
They're
problem with
totally-
a fighter
I
getting
just
their
got mine
testosterone
tested.
done.
I'm waiting on the
and
results.
You should
Yeah.
because here's the thing. Like, I mean, we can talk. It's like
No,
how we're
we're
right?
we're
No,
fine.
no.
Yeah.
So like, when you're
I'm a
you know,
medical
in your
professional,
20s,
he's
30s,
done
stuff
medicine,
like that,
yeah.
and men are like, okay, so you still wake up with morning wood, right?
Yeah.
But then as you age, you don't like have that anymore. But so you need your testosterone. This is very serious. I think
Yeah.
you need your testosterone levels still checked while that's still the case.
Yeah.
Because there's such a disparity, and a normal testosterone level is anywhere from 250 to like 1250.
Right.
Yeah.
That's normal range.
Yeah.
So, but what if you were 1,000 your whole life?
Yeah.
And then you go down to 750.
750.
They're like, oh,
Yeah,
you're
so
fine.
just like your
But you don't feel
blood
good.
flow and
Right.
everything. You,
Right.
need
So-
you need a base.
I know all
The
about
young
it.
ones are still like,
I
you
still
know,
right. I'm good.
I'm
Think about
good. Good for another 50
Honestly,
years.
God, I think if you train really, really hard for like a crazy amount of
yeah.
time, your testosterone levels definitely
Oh yeah.
go down,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think
but
that
they
would.
go back up.
They do. Well, but
Yeah.
but it does spike though. I mean, it does,
does,
spike.
yeah.
Normally, it does.
Well,
that.
and just like we talked about the menstruation cycle because of that
Right.
article, men have a cycle.
I'm glad I missed that.
No,
Cody's like, don't
we were
ever
talking.
invite Claire again.
We were talking.
I
we
don't
were talking
understand
about.
who she is.
We were talking about why women's boxing they only have 2-minute rounds, and one of the reasons that they gave was this bullshit excuse about the menstruation cycle or whatever. Exactly.
That's like
yeah.
crazy.
sexist stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyways, but men have
They're
a
strong
normal.
enough to go through childbirth, but
'cause of
not to punch
menstruation.
anybody.
Right. But men have a
Well, I
cycle
wanted to punch
too.
people during childbirth.
And during that cycle, their testosterone drops, different
Right.
other hormones drop.
Right.
So there is a cycle, yeah. But
Now, if fights were in the morning, that's when people's testosterone levels are the highest. Right?
Yes.
Between 9 and 11.
yeah,
And
exactly.
so we all know what. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Oh.
Also, why morning sex is the best sex.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I've heard.
But
I'll take it whenever. I mean.
there's truth. There's truth though when Cody's in camp or men are in camp is that they feed off each other's testosterone and the whole level rises, right? Just like women can sync up men in a training camp, isn't that true, Jimmy? Like your testosterone you feed
How-
off
why
of
would Jimmy
other
know?
manly men.
No.
No, not at
that's
all.
not true.
No, you're the
Energy
collective
movie.
the collective oh god what it there's a military term for it. It's a collective thing when you get a bunch of guys together in a very closed and enclosed space. It's not like they feed off their testosterone, but there's this
They get tougher.
they get
And
well they
they
don't
all
get tough.
rise.
They don't get tougher, they get competitive. They get, without even realizing it, they get more competitive
Take
with
a
each
bunch-
other.
Well, I would say if you take a bunch of dudes in a gym and then you bring a hot chick in that gym,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They don't like that.
All the blood goes from here
See everyone
down to
pull their
here.
pants
Yep. Everybody starts puffing up a little bit. Yep. But that's also when injuries happen because, they normally bench at, 200 or whatever. It's like, I'm going to throw a couple another 50
Right.
on there. And
Right.
so that's how they rip
Is she
their
watching?
pecs, Yeah. She watches.
I've seen it so many times. There's so many.
It's stupid.
So we have so many young
It's
young
stupid.
fighters in
Yeah.
the gym, and like a lot of amateurs, probably no one ever heard of, but guys that come in consistently, and a chick will come in.
Yeah.
A good-looking girl will come in and start
Yeah.
training like in the amateur class, and you see all these guys like morph into like this like. And we all sit and watch. Like after training, the amateurs go after we do, and we just sit and watch them all, just kind of like puff their chest.
I'm
out,
Captain Swole.
Look over, it's hilarious. It's like a bunch of monkeys.
But that's
walking
but
around.
but that that's
like-
actually a thing is guys will get guys in a small group will get not even consciously will just start getting competitive with one another, and I mean even for the most inane things it's like He pissed for 30 seconds. I'm gonna piss for 35.
It's just
He-
manly nature. I
it's-
mean, if someone
it-
wants to become the
The alpha
king of the
male.
jungle-
Yes,
Exactly.
they want to become the alpha male, so they start naturally competing with each other.
Now, Jess, when you were in jiu-jitsu, was there a line for guys to roll with you? Were you in an all-man class? Like
No,
the way
she
Cody
was-
makes it sound like it's like as
she
soon
was-
as it's time to roll, everybody's over there.
It's usually not weird like that. I mean, not
Yeah,
like,
it's
not
not.
like dudes like because if something like that was like guys like groping you up, a girl.
No,
and,
I'm
like,
just saying, like,
somebody
hey,
would
you know.
snatch
Yeah.
him up and beat the shit out.
Yeah,
of him,
you
on
got
the spot.
teammates.
I mean, like.
No, I'm saying more. I'm gonna make the connection because you
It's-
got a training partner.
Yeah, I'm
there.
sure you had a lot of guys like willing to help you out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was really good, but let me show you.
Oh,
how I do it."
mansplaining, yeah. That's
That-
That happens no
that's
matter
probably-
what.
Mansplaining.
Mansplaining.
I like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Never heard that.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
No, this is
Oh,
how
that's
you know.
oh, that's a
You do it
huge
like
thing.
this,
Yeah.
You turn your hips this way.
Yeah, yeah.
You feel that?
My favorite is after I tap them out, they tell me what I did wrong.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They sell
All
a
the
cure
time.
for that at Walgreens. It's called duct tape. All your local stores have
I thought you were gonna say chloroform.
duct tape.
Oh, really? Smell that.
Now, Jess, tell Cody a little bit about your jiu-jitsu background because he came in a little bit late, but you do come from a jiu-jitsu background.
Yeah. So I started training jiu-jitsu when I was 18 over at 10th Planet Ann Arbor. Trained there for about two and a half years, and then last summer I actually spent out in Orange County, California. I was doing an internship and got to train out there with. I was at King's for a couple days, but mostly I was at the 10th Planet gyms out there, just training. Competed a lot, lots of tournaments, couple hundred.
So boxing and jiu-jitsu. So you're gonna start fighting MMA then.
We'll see. Gotta get
Coach
the
over there is
Hey.
There's a lot of money in it. There's a lot of money in it.
Especially for women.
For women,
For the women in MMA, it's a lot better than
they're making as
boxing
much
right
money
now.
as we are, or more.
Yeah. We'll see though. We'll see.
I like MMA
I started
too.
boxing
I like
in.
them both.
Yeah, I started boxing in October though, and I got goals there first. And
Yeah, it's
once
good.
I get
I mean, you
few
wanna
belts.
like hone different crafts. I mean, those the guys that are the best in MMA or girls are usually they're specialists in something. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
good to have a foundation, whether that be jiu-jitsu and boxing. You know what I mean? Because you can build an MMA game around that. But people that just try to come in and learn MMA for MMA aren't successful just because it's watered down. You
Yeah.
want to learn boxing from boxing specialists. You want to learn jiu-jitsu from jiu-jitsu specialists. It makes you better.
Yeah, and we were talking about Kara Rowe. That's his his striking coach. We were talking about Kara Rowe. She fought some 3-round fights, or 3-minute round
Well,
fights.
they changed it not long ago because they
But
used to
Kara
be
Rowe
able
was
to.
a badass.
Yeah, they used to
man.
be able to do 3-minute rounds, but then they changed it because they're stupid.
All right, Jimmy, do what's
All
on
right.
tap. Keep
Do
us
we
on
have
schedule.
the song or is it did not port?
There you go. Didn't transport yet.
All right. This is What's on Tap, sponsored by Falling Down Beer Company. August 16th at Tokyo on ESPN Plus, we have Ryosuke Iwasa versus TJ Doheny. 12 rounds for Iwasa's IBF Junior Featherweight title. August 18th, Belfast, Northern Ireland. Showtime Facebook and YouTube, Showtime Extreme, same day tape. We have Carl Frampton versus Luke Jackson. 12 rounds for Frampton's WBO interim featherweight title. We also have Christopher Rosales versus Paddy Barnes. 12 rounds for Rosales' WBC flyweight title. Moving on to MMA, if I can turn the page here. August 17th, we have Bellator 204, Caldwell versus Lott. That is at Stanford Pentagon, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And then that's the big one. But there was a couple of them that I just found the titles fun, and I like reading those. August 18th, Freak Show Productions at Hub City Beatdown. So my question on that is that's in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Now I was in Hattiesburg when I was in Primo before we went to Afghanistan. There's some weird people there. Here's my question though. Do you have to be part of the freak show in order to compete? I mean, do you have to be like the bearded lady or the really tall guy? I mean, I don't know. I mean, seeing the population in Hattiesburg, I mean, they could probably find that stuff, but I don't know. August 18th, Impact Promotions, Beat Down at the Beach. That is at the Lake Town Wharf, Upper Grand Lagoon in Florida. Of course, it's in Florida.
That's such a bad idea, and I don't even know if Cody was around back then. But so the guys that do WXC, Warrior.
Yeah.
So the original guy that owned it, Jeff Piddock, he used to have an event in Monroe on the beach,
Yeah.
and the sand would get on the mat, and it was like
Yeah.
them on a slip and slide
Yeah.
on that mat.
It doesn't.
So
It just says
typically
beat down at the
doesn't know-
beach, but it is in Lake Town Wharf. So
If it is an MMA event, it
Yeah.
typically does not work when sand is
Yeah.
involved.
August 18th, Shamrock FC, Shamrock 308 at the Amerstar Casino, Kansas City, Missouri, and that is What's on Tap, sponsored by Falling Down Beer Company. We're going to take a quick break,
Absolutely.
and we will be right back.
Welcome back to the Undercard episode 282, celebrating the year 1982. What happened, Jimmy, in 1982?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I was completely trying to figure other stuff out. So hold on. Some movies. I can tell you some movies that came out. The top 10 movies. If you give me 1 second, I just gotta pull up. Where is my folder? Hold on. Okay, I hate looking at. Continue talking. Don't let me
no worries.
distract you. I gotta find.
Jess, in people that are new to the show, we've been celebrating the 80s ever since we started. When we hit our 80th episode, for some reason, I mean, in the early days, we were bored. We found a reason to party every day.
Oh,
so
gosh.
We just hit episode 80, and it was like, all right, we're gonna party. And so and we started celebrating the years.
We're gonna party.
Yeah, 3.
Because three's half of an 8.
No,
Oh my
episode
God.
3.
Episode 3 is kind of iconic.
Right.
Yes, that was the experimental.
Yes, it was.
Yes, that was the one where we got completely wasted and did a show.
Right.
I mean,
Sounds like a good
complete.
one.
We had jugs of beer,
I want to be invited to
like
that.
jugs
I
of
wanna
beer.
I wanna
We
do
haven't
that.
done
We're
that.
doing that right now.
I would say we haven't done that in like.
No, we're old now.
No,
We were old then. It wasn't that long ago.
When I tell you what, Cody wins,
We were all in our
and
30s
we're
back
celebrating. So September
Drink a
8th,
lot.
Lasagna?
Yeah.
lasagna
Yes, of
here
course.
and beers and shit down
Yeah.
there. So
All right.
that'll be awesome.
All right.
I'll make the lasagna. I'll bring it.
Rochelle.
Rochelle makes.
Michelle makes the best
It's-
lasagna.
We
Well,
can just see a women's
it
fight
is.
right now.
No, that's great. I was just being nice. She
How
can
many
make
different
it.
rounds?
You can make
How
it.
many? Yeah. How many layers of cheese or pounds of cheese is it?
4.5.
You can make
4.5
a side
pounds
dish.
of
I'll
cheese.
make
lasagna,
side.
girl.
I'll make
There
a
you go.
salad.
Why does everybody make a salad to go with pasta?
I don't know.
It's just both what you do.
Because you gotta have fiber to get rid of all that cheese.
That's what Metamucil is for. You just take a couple of pills, you're good.
Disgusting.
No, it
That's
comes in
an
pills.
That's an old man thing.
Shush!
Penile implants to Metamucil. I mean, we covered everything.
Low testosterone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
Okay.
that's a serious
The
health
top
condition.
the top grossing
That's
movies of
crazy.
1982, and I know we'll remember, but see if anybody else gets these. Rocky 3.
Awesome.
Yep.
Never saw it.
Porky's.
Right.
Oh,
Porky's.
It's an awesome movie.
Annie.
oh God.
Nah.
E.T.
Yes.
Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Awesome.
Yep. Tootsie. 48 Hours. An Officer and a Gentleman. Poltergeist.
I saw it when I
And
was
Star Trek 2,
8 years
The
old.
Wrath of Khan!
Rocky 3 is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Wars is fun.
Okay, so true story. I was, let's see, this is 1982, so probably 1985, 1986. I was hanging out with my cousins, and we were just, the two of us were just old enough that we could stay by ourselves with the parents going out. And she was having a sleepover, and one of her friends came over and said, "Hey, I brought a movie for all of us to watch. Do you want to watch it?" We're like, "Sure." And she's like, "It's supposed to be really scary." We're like, "It'll be fine." And it was Poltergeist. I did not sleep for the next week. And at the time, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in the day when networks used to go off the air. And when they went off the air, the television would go to this white snow static and just like... And that's what would happen in Poltergeist. And every night I'd fall asleep to the TV and I'd wake up to that and I would freak out. And I'm like, they're coming! They're coming!
Yeah, I saw it at the theater when it came out, and I was like,
Wow.
I was like 7 or 8 years
Yeah.
old, and I didn't sleep for 2 months.
7 or 8.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Why would they take you at 7 or 8?
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
Then, you know what the movie I watched the next year was? The Exorcist. I mean,
Oh.
come on, yeah.
Well, my daughter, she's 10, and one of her favorite movies is The Exorcist.
Yeah, but see, there's a difference between, like, when did she first see it?
When she was 9.
Okay.
Kids nowadays,
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah, but I was gonna
so
say,
fake.
yeah,
she's so,
they're
It's
desensitized.
not a desensitization with her. It's more of a, she's just fascinated with horror
The
movies and
cult.
being scared.
Okay,
Oh.
gotcha.
So, but she didn't even find The Exorcist scary.
What?
No, because I don't think she gets it.
Oh.
I don't think it's.
I need an
she's
old
more
priest
like
and
ghost
a young
thing as
priest.
opposed to- yeah, she doesn't get the whole like
Yeah.
Catholic demon
Oh,
possession. Really,
yeah.
the real gist of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stories
Baby
come out of
with-
state.
The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you.
You know, she's scared of more like The Conjuring and stuff like that.
Well, yeah. I mean I mean, as a kid, I would see that's very scary. I actually met the Warrens like way back in the day. They were they were old at the time, but
Well, they do a tour.
they did a tour. I
But
think
they still do.
Yeah, but
and
I think
she
the
wants
wife has
to go.
passed away.
No, the dad or the husband.
The husband passed away. That's
Yeah,
right.
Ed
Okay.
passed away, and
Yeah.
Lorraine still does it.
But the
and
daughter does it with her, I think.
her son.
Her son. Okay, gotcha.
And
yeah.
Felicity was very like upset and didn't understand why we wouldn't let her go. She's like, I want to go. I won't touch Anna.
I was gonna say
And
because
go.
everything they have is demonic and possessed.
Right, and she doesn't. Like I said, that's why she doesn't get it.
Yeah, because
She's
this is
like,
real.
I'm not gonna touch it. I just think it'd be so awesome. I'm like,
No.
Wow.
No. Nope. Because what if it attaches to her? I mean.
That's what we tried to tell
Yeah.
her. We're
I'm
just like,
scared and I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Well, Rocky 3 does bring up something that I can segue into here.
Clubber Lang.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever wanted to have boxer shorts, like his boxer shorts from Rocky 3?
Yes. I think I actually did once.
I am able to offer our listening audience 15% off. All you got to do is go to Contenders Boxer Shorts. Go check out the brand. They're 5-star rating, okay? Not only do they have the new
look, Kat
Karate
picks up their
Kids,
phone. She's like, what?
but they have all the Rocky shorts, including the red, white, and blues that Apollo
Apollo!
gave to him. But you can get 15% off with this one-time only code CCFRIEND. It's CCFRIEND. The reviews have been amazing. All 5-star reviews coming from Contenders. Look up Contenders boxing shorts and go get them. Also, they're good holiday gifts. We're getting in that time. Get
Why
it done.
don't we have pictures of Cody in them?
Yes.
That's all. That's between you and Cody.
Yes.
I
Now we know. Now we know.
I'm just saying that they would
Now
get more
we know.
sales that
Now
way.
we
as
know
opposed to, like,
what. Now we know what kind of calendar we're gonna make.
Oh,
They do have,
Oh, that's a good idea.
they do have an Instagram campaign going on.
Thanks.
And September 8th.
I moved,
All the way
I moved my
a Cody calendar.
I moved my foot and the chair just went shh. And I was like, I'm shrinking.
They do have an Instagram campaign running called "How Do You Wear Your Contenders?" It's meant to get customers to post out themselves wearing Contenders. So maybe we can
I'll
do
look
that.
them up and get some.
That's
Yeah.
that's at Contenders Clothing. So you'd hashtag it at Contenders Clothing. After your win, we'll do that. We'll hashtag it.
Yeah.
Get it going. On
Get some
Instagram.
lasagna. We'll get some beers in you. You won't know we're taking the pictures.
Put these on. You're good.
Exactly. We'll get more people to the windows than we
Yeah,
ever
exactly,
had
exactly. To the windows, to the
Oh,
walls.
that's what I was thinking too. I was like, wow.
Well, Claire, just to touch base again a little bit what you're trying to do in boxing, you talked a little bit about your women's division, but you're also working for a boxing organization. You touched on it, but tell us a little bit more about how organizations, I know how they work, but maybe our listening audience doesn't understand the WBC, WABA, and all these organizations. But you also have a job with a boxing organization. So tell us
Right.
what's going on there.
So I'm the director of the American Boxing Federation, and it's not a new sanctioning body. It's a sanctioning body. It used to be the OBF, and it was back in the 1980s, and then they just kind of like let it go. So, there's obviously the top 4, right, that everyone knows about.
When you
And
say
then-
let it go, I think of somebody like on
Let
the
it
store,
go,
the storage
let
units
it
where they bid
go.
on storage units, and
Oh.
he's like, I got some belts in there, and he just starts unloading it.
my mind went to Frozen.
Oh, I got you.
I think they just weren't doing anything with it.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
all right. So I don't know if you guys, everyone's obviously knows about BoxRec and how that works and all that. But I think most people think it's like this big company. I mean,
No,
it's
no.
huge,
No.
but there's 2 owners,
Yeah.
right? And then everyone else that does anything for BoxRec is volunteer.
Right.
So there's people that have worked for BoxRec as a volunteer for 20, 30 years. So we are in BoxRec, which is huge. So now all the haters are coming out. All the like little alphabet belts that aren't in BoxRec
Okay.
are coming after us. Like, how come they're in BoxRec and we're not? And it's kind of a big political thing. Like the ABC got involved you know, the American Boxing Commission, and they're all involved in it. But so as far as the sanctioning body is, you have ratings. So you have the way that you do your ratings, and then you have people fight for your titles. You know what I mean? We have a regional title as well. So, and it's been really exciting. I mean, I kind of did it because I thought it'd be great networking, but I absolutely love it. I mean, it's been amazing. The people I have met, and I get to go to all kinds of different title fights and put people in belts, and that's pretty exciting. But so you pay your sanctioning fees, things like that. I mean, I don't know how do you want me to go? Most people in boxing don't understand how it works.
Pretty much the promoter pays.
Right, for the sanctioning fee, the supervisor's fee.
Exactly, and it hypes up a fight card. Claire works for a legit organization, but there's a lot of non-legit organizations out there that people that don't know will see like the ID blah 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 blah, like 7 letters, and it makes the fight card more appealing to them because they think they're going for a title belt. And basically all these companies want is a sanctioning fee to allow you to have the title. Now the other problem with those smaller organizations is normally no one sticks around to ever defend those belts. So they win them and then they quickly leave them. So it's important to have the organizations that people want to defend those titles and stick around and try to have like legit challengers instead of 2 open challengers every time for a belt.
Right. I mean, we've had one person, this year that just vacated the belt.
It happens.
Because, Leonard Tyner, because he got the opportunity, he was supposed to defend it, but he got the opportunity. He's going
fighting this weekend.
Yeah, he's fighting this weekend. And
Little
Philly.
So how many
Philly.
legit boxing belts are there? Like legit organizations, would you say?
Well, in Box Rack,
Yeah.
I mean, you have your major 4, and then you have like the state, your state titles will be in there, and then you have the ABF. So in Box Rack, that's all there is. And then, well, here in the United States, but then like over in Europe and stuff, you have the Royal Boxing Organization. I mean, I don't even know how many there are.
Right, so you
over
could be
there.
like a 27-time world champion.
You could.
Then
Well, you
nobody
could.
knows you.
Well, but you couldn't. I mean, I had someone from Zimbabwe say, "Well, we could get your title over here." Okay, we're the American Boxing Federation.
Right.
That's true.
Like, I mean, how would you be the USA champion over?
Right.
And that doesn't make sense. But people, like I said, they don't understand it.
Right.
So
No.
I have learned a lot about boxing doing this. Like, I've learned a lot of things that I thought people just knew. I had a card where I had to talk to the ref in between rounds. Believe it or not, he was doing 8 count, standing 8 counts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, we really don't do that in professional boxing.
Do it in Michigan still.
But it's not. They're not supposed to.
I know, they still do it.
I know. Not every. Do all of them do it?
No, there's a couple, I'll tell you off air, that still do it.
Okay,
And
well.
matter of fact, yeah.
They
shouldn't be
They
done.
don't know. No, I mean, it's not in professional boxing at all.
One of Cody's biggest beefs is somebody that carries around their belt, though, like in public a lot. And he says that, like, one of the funniest
I don't know
things.
anyone like that.
Let me tell you something, brother.
One of the funniest thing Cody ever said to
I
me
know nothing.
when we were just like started hanging out and talking. And, he's like, I don't take my wrestling.
You better not walk around like
He's like, I don't take my wrestling trophy case everywhere with me, and he was pointing out people, and it's true. Like, some people will carry their belt like everywhere they go with them, and it's a sense of pride, and that's cool,
No, it's not. It's not cool.
But
You look like a dork. And then guys that are legit look at you and they're like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
I don't even think
Yeah, I
it's
mean-
guys. I
Is
think
it
it's
there
their
to
trainers
keep
are
you
telling them
warm?
to put it back in the car too.
Yeah, like everyone's like, "Dude, what? What are you doing?" It's like, "Ah, nice belt. You keeping your pants up? Like, why do you have that?" It's like walking around with a trophy in your hand. It's like stupid. Like, who does that?
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I really do not like that. Like, I see kids wearing them. Where'd you get that belt? And then they go to respond. I'm like, no one cares. Put it back in your car, dude. Go give it to your mom. Let her put it on the shelf. Like,
You guys are laughing an awful lot.
who is
Yeah,
it?
You
there's
know-
an
you know
inside joke I don't
yeah,
know
it's
about
like-
over
Who
there.
does it?
Oh right.
I ain't gonna do with that.
But when you win the UFC championship, you're going to take it to special events and stuff, and let
Yeah, but you
people
take it
touch
to
it.
special events.
Special
People
events.
pay you to
Yeah.
be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Not the mall.
Not
yeah, you don't
Walmart.
take it.
You're not going to
Take
to the
shopping with you. Like,
Sears
hey, look
Roebuck.
how-
Caroline, hold
Look
this.
up.
I gotta go try these pants.
Not
Look
the
up.
not the movies. Not the mall.
What was the saying I used to? Someone used to tell me, like, if you have to introduce yourself when you
Walk into a room.
walk into a room, you're not that important. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
like you want to be the person that doesn't have to like wear a belt. Like, you just walk in and people know who you are. Like, that's. I think that's what you aim for as an athlete. Like, you want to be that good that when you walk in, people are like, oh, that's so-and-so.
Right.
You don't want to be, why's that guy got that belt on? Like, oh, he, I don't know who that is. You know what I mean? Then you just look dumb.
Right.
You don't take it with you jogging.
No.
I don't
I
think
gave
I've-
them all to my mom. I was like, Mom, and she like decorated. She's got like a little trophy room for me.
I thought you-
The wall of Cody.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh,
So,
The
that's
wall
cool.
of Cody.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
yeah, but it, you know what I mean? Like, I would never do that.
Well, when you get the UFC belt, can we bring them all out and just have the whole trophies like just
Yeah.
just
Yeah, I
like
mean,
a
for, like, a
monument to
special
you for
event.
one day?
Have you
For a
laying on them
special
like
event? Yeah.
For the calendar for charity.
Right.
It's all for
Exactly.
charity.
It's
just
all for charity.
For the Humane Society. You love
Yeah.
dogs.
I do love dogs.
I'm just thinking of the bash when Cody wins his UFC championship.
Cody and Detroit Rescue Calendar.
What kind of bash we could throw out there when
be
you win the
cool.
championship, man?
That'd be cool.
I mean, that could be absolutely
I'm not
amazing.
sharing the lasagna with that many people.
No, the lasagna's for in here.
It's too expensive.
Everybody else has
Claire
got to
can bring-
buy shit
she's
out
like, Claire
there.
can bring her lasagna for them.
No. You just everybody buys their own food out there, but the lasagna is just for Cody and special people in here.
We ate, my brother and I ate that entire pan
That night.
in one night.
Wow.
Oh, you sent a picture and it was
It's
gone.
I meant-
awful.
I was gonna say, and how long was it before you had a bowel movement?
Probably immediately. That's a lot of cheese.
Well, but cheese binds you up.
Worth it.
Yeah.
Not me.
Oh, really? Oh, you're lucky.
Lactose
Back to
intolerant.
the belt thing really quick. I would like to see in MMA for sure in Michigan a universal belt because I think there's too many small promotions and actually to have a Michigan champion and it actually means something and it traveled through the promotions. Ohio has a boxing championship, but Michigan they tried to dust them off a little bit, the boxing championships. Well, that would be a cool one. The old state
Right.
championship belt
Right.
that meant so much to people to win in
Are
Ohio.
you tearing up?
No. But in
Little
Ohio,
bit, little
in
bit.
Columbus, they really take pride in that Ohio State belt. And
They do.
So, what do you think about that, Cody? Like, I think all these promotions having separate belts is kind of stupid. Just one flat Michigan belt that travels within the pro am communities, and that's what it is.
Well, the problem would be like what promotion hosts that?
Well, you'd have to start it off kind of like almost like a round robin, and then from there, whatever fighter can match make and what fights are taken. I mean, yeah, could someone get maybe worked out of it if they don't cooperate
Well, it
with
would
other
definitely
promoters?
legitimize whatever athlete was that champ. You
Right.
know what I mean? If you were the champ of Michigan, it'd be clear to bigger promotions that you were the best.
I think
So I think that'd be like good, like as far as like moving forward for an athlete. But I mean, you can't even get these MMA promotions. I mean, these guys are all,
My
you know what
belt's
I
the
mean,
best.
stroking their egos. You cannot get these guys to work together. You know, they're trying to have shows on the same night. They're really, I mean, they're idiots.
yeah.
That's it.
I
They're
wouldn't.
hate
idiots.
that.
I hope they're all listening.
I love it.
But what do you think the issue is with that? Just they don't know? Because that's what I've thought. I mean, that's what my opinion
He's
is.
right.
They don't know.
It's ego.
It's
They
ego.
just
yeah.
don't know.
It's literally, it's like my promotion's better than your promotion. It's like, well, I mean, maybe, but what's the, you know what I mean? Like, these guys aren't in it they don't give two shits about the athletes, you know what I mean? I don't know what
I've
it's like
seen
in
that all the
boxing.
time. Same.
You know what I mean? Like, these guys are just, they're in it because they want to make a quick buck, you know? And, I mean, basically, if someone's making money off, guys beating each other up, and you see some of the matchups that happen in boxing, I mean, it happens in MMA too. I mean, it's a twisted sport. There's a lot of sharks in these waters, and you got to be smart. That's why you need people in your corner that know what's up, know what's going on. I mean, because 100% promoters take advantage of you, and they'll play. I mean, the worst thing I think promoters do is they play on fighters' ego. Well, this guy said he could beat your ass, so I mean, if you don't want to fight him, that's
Oh, yeah.
That's usually the matchmaker's
you're
job,
a
isn't it?
wuss.
Say
You know
that.
what I mean? You're like, yeah, like, but I mean, like some dumb kid that maybe had a bright future in fighting takes a fight that maybe he wasn't ready for because he didn't have the right people in his corner to tell him like, hey, probably not yet. Someday, but not yet.
Yeah.
Because I mean, fighters, everybody thinks they're the baddest dude on the planet.
Promoters are just the same. They think they're the greatest promoters. And
Yeah.
everybody's that way.
I went to my worst show ever in Memphis a couple weeks ago.
I know who threw that.
It was absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
Vivian
Wait,
Harris
horrible-
didn't get paid,
I
and
would say horrible in what
Right.
way?
Yeah, I've seen
Fighters
see that
not
a lot.
getting paid, fighters without rooms. My room became a halfway house for homeless boxers for the weekend.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Oh yeah, literally.
Wow.
So that was interesting. No per diem, no food. And some of these guys come, they come,
They
they
need
travel.
that
He
money.
said they don't even have $20.
Right.
Yeah.
They
You know what I
need
mean?
that
They
money.
literally have no food. And they're like, that's okay. I'll just have, you know what I mean? So then he ordered pizzas the night before the fight at 9:30 at night. So it was bad. I mean, there was no sponsors. I mean, there was these little cards on the thing. He had a ring mat that was this, almost like a material like this.
Oh, wow.
And guys
You
were
trip over
slipping
it.
all over
Yeah.
it. I mean, I couldn't even believe it happened. But yeah, did you see the thing about Vivian Harris?
Yeah, I know
And
what we were talking
recoiled.
about.
They didn't get paid. They're supposed to get paid $11,000. They got paid $4,000.
Jeez.
Like everyone got shorted.
Wow.
Everybody. He stole our belts.
I stole your guys'
He literally stole the belts. Confiscated them from a conference room. Took them. Didn't let us have them. And threatened to call the police to get them. Because he didn't understand. So they're my belts. If I pay you for them, first you haven't paid yet. But he did pay. But then he thought it was their belts. So he explained to them that they're my belts, and then when the fighter wins the title, it's his belt. It never is the promoter's belt.
Right.
The worst thing
They
that
don't
ever,
understand anything.
the worst thing that ever happened
That was a terrible weekend.
that Rochelle knows about too
Horrible.
is I had a promoter tell me over the phone that he was responsible for something, but I was in the room when that decision was made, and he was nowhere in that room, and he lied to me. He goes, I made that happen, and I'm like, well, I was in the room with the 5 people that did make that decision, but I even let them have it, didn't I? I was just they need that. Some of them need that to feel like they're that important. But I walked away from going, there was only 5 people in that room. I'm one of those 5, and you weren't one of those 5. And you were influenced by the decision of the people in the room. But Cody's right.
I feel like you gotta tell them to fuck off.
Right.
You gotta set them straight. And
Well,
I think
promoters,
he- I
they
think
all-
he did.
They
I've done it.
flex on you so bad. I
think he-
can't believe it.
Yeah.
I've heard promoters talk to athletes just awful. I mean,
Well, because they think they're doing them a favor.
right.
Right.
You're not.
And you gotta sell tickets, which I don't know if that's illegal.
Um,
Ronnie
it
Ostion
is,
came in here
yeah.
and said that's illegal in the state of Michigan, but
It
still
is.
promoters
Really?
do that.
To what? Make fighters sell
Ronnie
tickets?
Yeah.
Ostion said that. So his son is a boxer with Mayweather. He came in here and said there's a law that says you can't make fighters sell tickets for your purse money.
Correct.
And he was adamant about it, and but I've never been able to find it.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, send it to me.
I will.
Because that's all Michigan MMA
Yeah,
is.
I mean,
I've heard it's illegal for them to hold your purse
As ransom, sort
as ransom. Like, let's say you don't sell X amount of tickets,
Right.
something to do with the Ali Act.
It's illegal. You have to
Yeah.
be paid your contracted amount, and it can't
Right,
be
no
based
matter
on ticket
what.
sales or
You know,
anything.
exactly.
Because the promoter's job to promote the. Wow, what an idea! Maybe someone could start doing that.
Promoter's
a
job
promoter
to run
like
a show.
promote
Exactly.
the show.
And MMA fighters, literally, your worth in MMA. I mean, I know because I grew up, and it's hard. It's really hard in Michigan, and you have to have a fan base, and you have to sell tickets, or promoters just don't give 2 shits about you.
Because they don't know how to promote.
Right,
They're not
well, they
promoting an
don't.
event.
They don't promote. You promote yourself as an athlete. You sell tickets. I mean,
right.
I used to sell a few thousand tickets in Grand Rapids. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't promote the show. I promoted the show on my social media and by being an athlete and by knowing people in the community. And then, I got pretty wise to it pretty quick and realized that, you know what I mean? Like, their show doesn't work unless I show up and fight.
Right.
And that's the thing. Fighters need to kind of come together and look out for one
That's
another.
what I've been saying. And say we're not going to do it.
Yeah, and it has to happen at the biggest
Levels.
levels. Boxers, there needs to be some kind of
Unionized.
union.
Yeah.
I mean, boxing's better now than it was, but MMA is what boxing. MMA now is what boxing was 20 years ago.
Right.
Promoters making this much and fighters making this much.
Right.
Well, it is. I mean, now in all fairness, it is the promoter's job to pay the fighter. I mean, that's the whole business form, right? I mean, the whole platform is the
Right.
promoter makes the money, right, from the
Right.
show, and then his job is. I mean, really, he wants to pay the fighters the least amount possible. So that's why
Right.
you have your manager's job is to get you the most possible, and the promoter's job is to pay you the least amount. So I get that. I don't think they're jerks for that. I just think
No.
they don't promote the event.
Well, Cody's
Like, do your job. Like, promote the event.
Right.
Don't make
Right.
people sell tickets. I don't let
At
my
a s-
fighters sell tickets.
On a small stage,
At all?
100%, it's horrible. But I'm fortunate. The UFC, you don't have to, you know what I mean? Like, they
Oh, yeah.
promote the show. Like,
Well, 'cause they
do
promote
everything
it.
for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a way it's supposed to work. You
Right.
know? And I gotta say, the UFC treats you really, really well.
But in the
as an
UFC,
athlete.
people fight people.
Right.
Boxing,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying,
Right.
locally, no one wants to fight anybody.
Yeah,
Right.
If I hear one more local fighter say, well, I don't want to fight any Detroit fighters,
Right.
what? That doesn't make any sense.
No, Cody can't turn
Who
down many
cares?
people before the UFC wouldn't call him anymore, but boxers do it all the time. I don't want
All
to
the
fight this
time.
guy because he's not my style. But Cody was very successful at selling tickets. There was one fighter, I don't want any names on air, but I remember it was Fight Week, his biggest fight, right? And it could go either direction for him. And he was like, hey, all you guys that said you'd buy tickets for me, I'll meet you at 8 Mile. This is 2 days away from his biggest fight
Terrible.
ever. And he goes, because I need to settle up tickets tomorrow before weigh-ins. And I'm like, it's your biggest fight
Yeah.
of your
Right,
career.
so-
This is going to go one way
Yeah.
or another. And you're meeting people at a gas station to settle up with people who said they would buy tickets.
I've been there. I've done it. I've chased people around, and you know, I was fortunate enough towards the end of before I got in the UFC that I had people that kind of took care of it before me. I didn't have to, worry about that and stress.
That's the
about
way
it.
it should be.
Yeah, but it's hard, and I feel like as an athlete, I would teach anybody how to do, what I did and to kind of move forward and be successful, make money as a fighter coming up, I would love to like have a workshop or something and tell fighters like, here's what you need to do. You need to build a brand. You need to market yourself. You need to make the right connections with the right people. I mean, really, as much as you're like, as an athlete, like you got to think of your fighting career as like a small business that you're trying to grow.
Exactly what it is.
And nobody thinks about that. I mean, there's so many guys. They're just like, oh well, so and so said he's gonna pay me $500 and $500, and like I got my rent coming up this month, so I think I'm just gonna take that fight. And it's like, dude, like I always tell guys, I'm like, how much money is it? And they're like, oh, it's $5,000. I'm like, $5,000 will not change your life. I don't care what kind of situation you're in. Like, it won't change your life. Temporarily, maybe, but in the long run, that's breadcrumbs. And you're talking about, you see so many like promising athletes throw their careers away for $1,000, $2,000, and it's like,
Yeah. Well, they don't have
Damn.
a plan. They just
Exactly.
take this fight, and then that fight's over. Then they go, okay, I'll wait for someone to offer me the next fight.
right?
When they should just have a plan. Like, okay, after this fight, then I've got this set up, and then I've got that set up 2 months later.
Well, we've talked about that even when,
have
Amy's
no
turning
plan.
pro. Like, well, I've had, 5 amateur fights and I've won this or that, and well, I'm going to be pro next time. I can't wait till I'm pro. It's like, why?
Yeah,
You
you
know?
think Floyd Mayweather would be mad if they would have took a little pension money away and that he got paid at 60? I bet you, when you're making $50 million a year, if they would have took pension, like, if they took some money away from Floyd Mayweather, I'd be like, he'll be okay. But because they didn't take the money away from him, I'm not sure in 10 years if he'll have all this money.
I'm not
You
sure.
know what I'm
I'm
saying?
not sure if Clarissa Shields will be okay in 3 years.
And that's what Cody's alluding to, better unions and better stuff for fighters, because let's be honest, I can't say if Floyd Mayweather Jr. is making all the smartest decisions with that much money. Buying a strip club right off the bat, probably not what I would do, all that stuff. It would be nice to see like a pension plan for pro boxers in which you reach a certain level in which they siphon some off, knowing that, hey,
But
you're going to have some
Don't you
bad
also
days.
think it's like the manager's job to kind of
Absolutely.
hire a financial advisor?
Absolutely.
I do.
Have that
But
be-
at the same
If
time,
they're a
how
good
many,
manager.
How many, yeah, exactly. How
Yeah.
many good managers are out there actually looking for the best interest of their fighters besides them putting more money into their pockets?
Right. Because Mike Tyson would say Don King at the time was the biggest he could get, and then Don King robbed him blind, and was paying him charging him $20,000 a week for towels. He said,
Right.
Something
"Yeah,
like
just
that,
he was charging him $20,000 a week for
Yeah.
towels."
Plus, considering the fighters, the ones that get hurt early in their career.
I bet
You
you
know?
every fighter would put into a pension. Cody, Jess, would you put into a pension if you knew later on there was a kickback to help
Oh yeah, for sure.
for injury?
For sure.
Well, she's she goes to UFM, she's smart.
Yeah, I think fighters would do that though, because like you're
No way.
you're maybe an injury.
I don't
No, you don't think
I
so?
don't think the average
No?
fighter would.
No, they wouldn't.
The
I'm
problem
sure
is,
they
I think there's just, we know,
Well, it's
there's
like
a huge
paycheck to
disconnect,
paycheck.
right, between the fighters and their team and the business end of boxing.
Right.
I mean, there's a huge disconnect. So if you're fortunate enough to be part of a team where you have people around you that have managed their own finances even for a house before, or their own home, household stuff, right?
Right.
and people that have done things, run businesses, things like that. But how often do you see that happen?
I know.
You
gotta
don't.
put the
It's
right-
people
I mean-
that they don't know.
In any aspect of life, though, you got to put the right people in your corner.
Right.
You know, I feel like that's not even just like a fighting thing. It's just like a success thing. You know, you want to be successful, you need people that, you know, specialize in different aspects. You need to learn from them. You need to like consult with them. I think that's just something you need to do to be successful in anything you do, really. I mean,
Right.
any kind of like
That starts. That
entrepreneur.
That really
you need
starts
that.
when you're young. I mean,
agree.
learning how to attract the right kind of friends
Right.
and hang out with the right kind of people.
Right.
And let's be honest, like fighters, you know, normally aren't like the, you know, they're not the sharpest crayons in the box. Like literally, like a lot of the troubled kids, you know.
Well,
that,
she
that
makes
turn
fun-
to fighting to like, you know, as
Oh,
like
yeah.
stress relief. I mean,
Well, she made fun of me. Walk past Donnie Wahlberg or Mark Wahlberg, and I go straight to the person that actually owns Wahlburgers and talks to him when no
You
one's
make
bothering.
fun.
Oh, but that's what I do. You know,
I'm just,
what
no,
what
I'm
what,
saying,
Co- what
and I
Cody
know that's
says.
you, and
Right.
you know,
You
I
do
just
need
Google.
mentors, and it's just like when everybody's messing with the, you know, the Wahlbergs over there. I'm gonna go find the guy that, you know, makes some
It's
decisions.
like
and
that's
stuff.
the guy I want to talk to.
Right. As soon as he walked in, I was like, "That's the guy I want to talk to." The other guy.
I would say the person above the power line.
Right. It's like
Right.
that's the one I want to talk to. And Cody says, surround yourself with people that know. You know, the old adage is, are you going to follow the person across the battlefield where the footsteps stop halfway, or are you going to follow the ones that go all the way? The cool
Well,
thing
it depends on why it stopped halfway.
did he fly away? I mean,
Is there a crater? I mean,
I'm very excited about our guests here on really quickly on August 28th. Do you remember Andy Dirks, the Detroit Tiger? He's now a mental coach. He's a business owner at Get Your Game Right.
Okay.
Yeah, he teaches. He also does a podcast too. Entrepreneur, mental coach, but was a professional baseball player for a while. Made his way through the ranks, and he's a mental coach. And we talked briefly over Facebook about like how he could apply it to boxers and stuff. So August 28th, Andy Dirks is going
August
to be a
28th.
guest
All right.
over the phone, and I'm excited about that.
Cool,
one. And
yeah.
maybe we can ask him about some of these
Write
things.
that down, Jimmy, so you know.
Oh,
Just
snap.
saying.
put it in the Facebook chat.
I was
Well,
gonna say all you got to do is just put it in the calendar.
so I'm going to go around the room. Claire, where can people get a hold of you on social media if they want to know more about Claire Burke and what you're doing in boxing?
Oh, okay, well, I have the ABF website, which is abfboxing.com. I've got Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
All right. How about you, Jess, if they want to follow you?
So I'm on Facebook as well, and then Instagram at Majestic B with 2 S's in Majestic. So.
All right. And Coach, you're at Jab's Gym, right?
Yes,
Correct?
I'm at Jab's Gym.
And then you got social media page, and then what are your rates and hours, and what kind of training do you offer? What about white collar boxing? You do that too? A lot of people come in?
Yeah, we do. We
Yeah.
get a lot of white collar boxers. You can find me at Jab Gym Birmingham website. You can find me on my Facebook as Akio Miller, or Instagram, which I normally look at more as Coach Akio, Coach_Akio_Miller, AKIO, for those who's like, how do you spell his name?
Awesome. And then Cody's got his big fight September 8th. Cody, where can everyone follow you on Instagram again?
Shoot, I don't even know. Just Cody's team.
There we go.
CODY.
Our show?
MANN.
Yeah,
On our show?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we want to thank our guests for coming in here and
Thanks
breaking
for
in the
having
new
us.
studio.
Thank you.
This is our first time here.
It's
It
really
actually
awesome.
feels like
Sweet.
home now.
I love it.
It was a little
It's great.
claustrophobic
It's
at the beginning.
cozy.
Yeah, it is very cozy.
I mean, I'm freezing, but
Right, it is
cozy.
cold in
the
here.
air conditioning is no joke in this
Yeah.
place.
It works
it
very
does
well.
work.
in here.
It does. You walk out that door. It's hot and humid. You walk in here, and it's like
It's freezing.
nice.
I
Yeah.
always bring a hoodie wherever I go.
Yeah, you do.
Smart.
Smart. Yeah.
Well, we're going to wrap it up. We will be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, same new location. And everybody take care, and we'll be back.